Hello, everyone, and thank you all for joining this stream on 6th of August. Now it's 11 o'clock in the morning, Moscow time, and as always, I have prepared quite a number of news for a news segment on some major developments that Russian media and public is paying attention to, and I hope you will find this episode informative and useful. And if so, dear friends, please click that like button and leave some commentary, not just in the chat, but also in the comment section, so that hopefully we will manage to deal with their extremely aggressive algorithm and we will reach wider audience. Also, dear friends, as always, after news segment, I will be engaged with the community in community chat and. To make sure that I will spot your question or the comment that you want to highlight, please use a capital Q at least before the sentence or capital letters entirely. It's up to you. It just makes it a little easier to spot while I'm scrolling through comments. And what else? You can use, of course, super chat feature if you just want to make sure 100% that I'm not going to miss your question or the comment, and if you want to support dear friends, because super chat is a paid comment when members are donating at the same time. Okay, and super chat working on Rumble, by the way, where my channel is monetized. Okay, that's been said, let's go through some news now, and of course I will start with sort of a breaking news that special envoy of US President Witkov arrived in Moscow this morning. All the media outlets, including Kommersant newspaper, reported about it. The head of Russian Direct Investment Fund and the special representative of the Russian president for economic cooperation with the foreign countries, Kirill Dmitriev, met the special envoy Witkov in Vnukovo airport, and then they went to walk around the Zaryadye Park, not far away from Kremlin. You can see on your screen, episode of that walk around there. Members of our community, especially on Patreon and Boosty, knows, dear friends, that Kremlin from Zaryadye Park is literally in 5 minutes walk. Right, it's literally right next to it, and some 30 minutes before I start this stream, number of Telegram channels reported that Witkov and Dmitriev went towards the Kremlin, right? Which means that most likely, maybe already at this point when I'm streaming this news update, Russian president is hosting negotiations with Witkov. I don't really understand why should Russian president waste even a second to have a talk with any representative of their modern, current administration in Washington, because it's a total waste of time. You cannot trust these people, right? Even for a second, by the way. U.S. administration, current U.S. administration was engaged in a deception operations. And is engaged in deception operations literally constantly, all the time, right? They cannot be trusted. So, why Russian president would waste time to have a talk with Witkov, beyond my understanding. Share your take, dear friends, what you think about it. I think, if Kirill Dmitriev will have a talk with Witkov, that would be enough, absolutely enough. They will exchange opinions. Witkov will deliver, yet again, Trump's ultimatum to Russia. Dmitriev will tell Witkov that him and his boss, Trump, can go and F themselves, right? And that's about it. There is no need to talk anymore, right? And waste time. But, Russian side is just too diplomatic, man. Too diplomatic. And maybe it's good thing, but I think excessive diplomacy can be harmful at one point, because your diplomatic stance can be seen as a weakness, especially by ones that are inadequate, like U.S. administration is. My personal opinion, dear friends, but nevertheless, In next hour or two, probably we will have some more information about Witko's visit. Maybe press spokesman of the Russian president, Dmitry Peskov, will share with public some information about conversation that Russian President Putin and U.S. President Zinoy Witkov had in the Kremlin. Also interesting news, dear friends, that Trump is scheduled to make some statement today, later on. This is also a sort of breaking news, if we can call this that. So U.S. President Donald Trump will make a statement from Oval Office of the White House on Wednesday. The subject of the head of the state's planned announcement has not been disclosed. This is stated in their work schedule published by the press service of the head of Washington administration. And I think we can have an informed guess what Trump gonna talk about during his today's statement. Well, I see Chrome is not working again. What a garbage browser this Chrome is, man. Holy moly. So yes, we can have a good informed guess what Trump gonna talk about. Probably he will touch a tap on subject of ultimatum towards Russia. He might issue additional threats towards Russia, as if we care here, right? And same time, I'm quite sure Trump will announce additional tariffs. He will attack India again because he has some obsession with India. He will attack India most likely, and as it was said yesterday by him, Trump will probably announce additional higher tariffs on India on top of 25% or something that is already in place since 1st of August. Same time, Trump might try at least China, Brazil, right? And that's about it. That's about it. Of course, we will all pay attention what he will have to say, because after all, no matter what kind of attitude we have toward Trump, he is at least formally president of US, major nuclear superpower, and when president of major nuclear superpower is making statements, people are listening, right? Even if they despise that particular person. And why would anyone have any respect for Trump, man? I mean, it's you know. Also, the friends, to continue, Yanarsk is reporting that, as I already mentioned, Trump already made during the previous 24 hours additional threats towards India with a hike of tariffs. Let me give you some details on that. So the United States intends to significantly increase tariffs on India in next 24 hours. President Donald Trump said in an interview with the CNBC News, we stopped at the 25%, but I think I will raise them very significantly in the next 24 hours because they are buying Russian oil, he said. And you know what, dear friends? India already responded. Indian leadership is very upset due to these hostile policies of the Washington, because it was clear that New Delhi was seeking good relationships with the US, with the collective West countries in general, right? I don't know why India's leadership had hope that they would be treated as equals, or they would be treated with respect by Western elites, by the way. I mean, that was a big mistake, right? Because Western elites don't know how to treat others with respect and how to behave respectfully. This is not something that you should expect from Western elites, right? To begin with. But nevertheless, Indian side responded. They criticized the US for double standards that Washington is using in regards to New Delhi. And on this matter, dear friends, let me give you a short video when journalists, it was yesterday, asked Trump about other countries that are actually buying stuff from Russia, including energy sources and including US. And let me give you his answer on that. You're gonna laugh, man.
imports Russian uranium, chemicals, fertilizers, while criticizing their energy imports. Your response to that, sir?
I don't know anything about it. I'd have to check, but we'll get back to you on that. Yeah, please.
Mr. President.
You see,
Yeah, go ahead.
he was directly asked, what about US? What about other countries in general? And what about US in particular? Why this different attitude towards and especially hostile attitude towards India? And Trump said that he knows nothing about it. Do you believe this? Do you believe that Trump has no idea that US still buys maybe not for tens of billions of dollars, but still for billions of dollars, some goods from Russia, including enriched uranium? Is U.S. president this ill-informed that he has no idea about still existing trade links between U.S. and Russia, for example, while he is a very tough sort of on India for cooperating with Russia? I'm telling you, man, Trump is becoming really a laughing stock. And if he was not the president of US, okay, by the way, who cares? But unfortunately, this guy, who is clearly compromised, right, and who clearly has no freaking idea what the hell is going on in this world, is a president of US. It is what it is, man. But let's continue. Let's continue with some more news, dear friends. And for example, yesterday, Trump was on a bad mood, I guess, and he went to threaten not just Russia or India, but also EU. Also EU, by the way. Let me give you some details on that too. So US President Donald Trump said that if the European Union fails to fulfill its investment commitment to American economy, Washington may return increased import duties of 35%. Well, we have a quote here. Well, then they will pay 35% tariffs, Trump said in an interview with the CNBC when asked what measures the US would take if the EU failed to meet its investment deal. And yes, Trump is threatening EU with the 35% tariffs, which is going to be devastating for European economies for sure, and will accelerate, I guess, the industrialization of Europe. And maybe that's exactly what Washington's hope is, that many companies that will shut down their manufacturing plants in Europe will move their factories to US. And this is already happening, by the way. There are reports that hundreds of companies actually already moved their manufacturing plants towards the US, right? And so reindustrialization of US is clearly happening on expense of European economies, and this process is going to continue, and most likely it's only a matter of time, and Trump will actually impose 35% tariffs on EU, because that agreement that was reached between Trump and the European Commission commissioner, head of European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, was and still is undoable. This cannot be done because I remind you, dear friends, that Ursula agreed that Europe would invest in US $600 billion in US economy, and she also agreed that EU would buy for next 3 years, as long as Trump is in office, LNG or energy sources from US for $250 billion every single year, right? And neither first point or first topic, 600 billion investment into US, neither second one, this LNG supplies from US for 250 billion can be done. It's just not possible, even on a theoretical scale, right? So therefore, I guess Washington will actually go ahead and impose maybe 35, maybe 55, maybe 155% tariffs on EU economy. It's only a matter of time, because that agreement between Washington and Brussels just cannot be honored by each side, by the way, by either side. The US cannot, in reality, supply EU with their LNG worth 250 billion a year, right? Europe cannot actually receive LNG on for such a volume because they have no infrastructure for that, right? And the EU is also in no position to invest 600 billion into US economy. Brussels is not in that position, right? And Brussels cannot actually, even if they want to, order Berlin or the Paris or any other capital among EU member states to invest hundreds of billions of dollars into the US economy. It's up to businesses, isn't it? Governments don't invest in other countries, as far as I can tell, with the exception when central banks are buying some bonds and stuff, right? It's usually businesses that are making decision to invest or not to invest in this or that country. But anyways, Trump was in a bad mood yesterday, and he attacked not just Russia and India, but also EU. And I will give you some information about US EU trade situation right now, which is already in nearing its nearing dead end, right? Because we have this report, for example, against the backdrop of introduction of import duties, the United States purchased goods from the European Union in June for a minimum of $45.7 billion since February last year, according to RIA Novosti analysis of the data from American Statistical Service. So basically, in June, US already brought a lowest number of goods, lowest volume of goods from the EU in last 18 months. Right? And this process will most likely continue. And the trade between the US and the EU is clearly already in the process of being either completely derailed or significantly derailed, right? And on the topic of EU, by the way, and craziness of their EU leadership, for example, I give you this news that EU is going to impose sanctions against China, according to Politico. So the EU is going to impose sanctions against China for allegedly supporting the conflict in Ukraine. Political reports citing European diplomats. Brussels is preparing to impose sanctions against China for its role in supporting the conflict in Ukraine. Publications said there. An EU diplomat told the publication that Brussels will seek to impose these sanctions after August, sometime in September or October or whatever, as if China cares that much, by the way. Brussels is demolishing EU, isn't it? Brussels intentionally demolishing EU's economies, right? Economies of EU member states. And this step to intimidate China or to threaten China gonna backfire big time, right? I don't think EU or the US are in a position to act tough at this point against at least against the major superpowers. By the way, they might still be in a position to bully smaller countries, lesser powerful countries, and they do this. But when it comes to major superpowers, well, we are observing lustration, isn't it? We are observing process of the lustration of the EU and the United States, and the whole world is seeing, by the way, that they are sort of a paper tiger, right? Because Russia does not give a damn about US ultimatums. China does not give a damn about US ultimatums, and US is a main force in the collective West, isn't it? And it seems like India also, feels strong enough now to stand the ground and don't bow down to the US, which is a clearly message, by the way. Brazil is not bowing down, not going to bow down to US, and the Brazilian president is actually making quite a tough statements in regards to US. So yes, we are observing process of lustration of the collective West. And maybe this will be awakening call for Western elites, maybe they will realize that they are not as powerful as they were dreaming about or they were thinking about. I don't know. But nevertheless, interesting, important processes are taking place. And dear friends, before I continue with more news, let me just highlight that this media project of mine is fully subscriber funded, completely independent, that is, and only exists or only continue to exist as long as I have your support or community support. So therefore, if you consider my work good, if you think I deserve to be in this field of news and political commentary, if you want to see potential further development of this project, please consider to support my work. You can do it through several means. You can donate to this project through PayPal platform or Boosty platforms. Links are under this video in description box. Also, you can subscribe to my Patreon page or Boosty, where I have extra content on regular basis, like yesterday, for example. What else? You can, if you are good with the crypto, you can, use crypto to support her. There is such option too. And during the live streams, you can use a super chat feature on Rumble channel, or become a premium subscriber on Rumble. Of course, everything counts, by the way. All the support counts to maintain this project. And there are many thanks to everybody who supported and continues to support and keeps me busy in this field of news and political commentary, which is I don't know, dream come true, sort of. I cannot express how grateful I am for this opportunity. So thank you very much. As I said, all the links are on this video in description box, and after this stream, I will also publish pinned comment with all the links. That's being said, dear friends, let's continue with some more news. And next, this report from Yanarsk, which is based on Russian Defense Ministry. It's the latest update that during the nighttime, air defense systems on duty intercepted 51 drones that was launched by Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky with the assistance of NATO countries to strike deep into Russian territory. I can give you some specifics. So 16 drones each was intercepted over the Rostov and Bryansk regions, 12 drones over the Crimea, 4 over Voronezh region, and 3 drones over the Aryol region. Usually, these night strikes of Kiev regime and NATO are on a larger scale, but yesterday and today, numbers are a little less than it was before, let's say. And maybe that's because Kiev regime and its NATO masters are stockpiling drones to launch massive strikes deep into Russian territory after Trump's ultimatum will expire in 2 days' time. And not just drones, but also missiles that most likely have been delivered already to Kiev regime by US, by France, UK, Germany, and who knows which other NATO country is engaged in that. So I spoke about my take on what should we expect on after August of 8, and I don't think I need to repeat myself every time I mention this ultimatum. Unfortunately, I think there is a extremely high risk that we will see next phase of escalation in military terms between NATO and Russia. To say this, to explain my take in a few words, and I think level of escalation could be on such a scale that Moscow will just have no option but to retaliate, not just on the military and logistical infrastructure of the Kiev regime, but potentially on the military assets of the NATO member states that will be directly engaged in this military escalation with Russia. That is US, UK, France, Germany, first of all, and a number of others. Obviously, Russian armed forces are conducting long-range strikes also on the military, but Russian side is always focused on military and logistical infrastructure of the Kiev regime. That's the difference. Kiev regime gives no damn about casualties among civilians, and that's why literally constantly on daily basis we have report that civilians were injured in this region and that region, and unfortunately there are just too many occasions when people are losing their lives. Yesterday I shared information that, for example, last week Kiev regime and the NATO with their strikes on Russian territory killed 18 civilians, for example. But as I said, the Russian armed forces are retaliating with long-range precise strikes on military and logistics infrastructure of the Kiev regime, on the energy infrastructure of the Kiev regime that is used, obviously, by our enemies. And for example, this morning we had these reports that Russian drones targeted energy facility in Odessa region, in Izmail district to be more precise, which is on the border with Romania. This is a location, by the way, of Russian drone strike. You can see on the screen now. And Izmail city itself is located, and district basically, but Izmail city too is located on the Danube River. It's a port city, by the way, on that main major European river. And yes, there was a huge blaze after Russian strike when this gas infrastructure was damaged and caught fire. Also, dear friends, we have a reporter from Vzglyad news paper that Russian armed forces already conducting battles inside the Kupiansk city. Let me give you some details on that. Russian military have begun fighting on the streets of Kupiansk in the Kharkov region. TASS reports this information is coming from military expert Andrei Marochka, who stated about this in a live broadcast, recording of which was published on his VK Vkontakte page. According to Marochka, the situation in the city is developing rapidly. Urban fighting has begun, and the Russian army is acting in small, maneuverable groups, identifying enemy firing points and striking them. And well, this is not only DRGs, by the way. As far as I can tell, now regular forces, regular troops of the Russian army are inside the Kupiansk. We knew, and I reported about it like already 2 weeks ago, maybe even longer, that Russian DRGs were operating in Kupiansk. But now we have this report from Marochka that, well, basically forward units of the Russian armed forces in this sector also entered the city, and urban warfare, relatively large-scale urban warfare has begun. RIA Novosti is also reporting that Russian armed forces established control over the Yanarsk settlement in the Dnipropetrovsk region. And as I said there, as I reported in my yesterday's second update, by the way, in case you have not seen it, check that yesterday's video. It was a walk and talk video, by the way. I made second update for Patreon and Boosty, and as usually I do lately, I post the first part of that video on YouTube and Rumble also, because many members of our community do like this walk and talk type of videos, right? And so, yes, I reported yesterday about this, that if I remember correctly, Yanarsk is either third or fourth settlement that was liberated by Russian forces in the Dnipropetrovsk region. And let me show you on the map approximate location of this, exact location actually of this settlement. You can see a star in the square, inside the square. So that's the location of this settlement in Varskara. And take a look at the map you see on your screen, dear friend. This is a Dnipro city, Dnipropetrovsk city on western side, right, northern western side from Yanarsk. And well, if you take a look, dear friends, there is not that many settlements in this direction between Russian forces and Dnipropetrovsk city itself. Not that many settlements. It's a kind of steppe area, right, where mainly agricultural work was done. It's fields, unending sea of fields, right? And who knows, dear friends, when I was making these screenshots from the map, and I cannot use map because due to low speed of internet, it's just not opening rapidly. so it's not convenient. So while I was making this screen, I did pay attention to this, that there is not that many settlements from Yanarsk to Dnieper, right? And same time, due to progress of the Russian armed forces in all over the front line, and due to certain speculations on the internet that Russian armed forces may launch another sectoral scale offensive operation in upcoming days, well, I began thinking that maybe Russian forces will actually move towards Dnipropetrovsk. Maybe this sectoral scale offensive operation that is expected by many will be in the Dnipropetrovsk direction. I mean, who knows? It is a possibility. Obviously, Russian general staff does not share information with me, right, or with anybody. It's only they know what Russian troops gonna do, right? But it's a possibility. It's a possibility. That's all I want to say. So it's a third or fourth settlement that Russian military is liberated in Dnipropetrovsk region. And also, dear friends, let me give you little update on Pokrovsk-Mirnograd direction. As you can see on your map right now, well, it is becoming more and more obvious that basically these two towns and few villages there are in operational settlement. I will argue that Pokrovsk-Mirnograd agglomeration is in operational encirclement already. Just take a look at the map, by the way. What you gonna call it? Distance between Russian positions from northern pincer to a southern pincer, southern western pincer, is maybe like 10-15 kilometers max. 20. This is a distance, by the way, that any field artillery can cover. Literally, any field artillery or howitzer can easily cover this area, right? So I don't know. In my opinion, and I'm not military expert, by the way, so therefore take this opinion of mine with a pinch of salt. But while looking at the map, what I see is a clearly operational encirclement of Pokrovsk-Mirnograd agglomeration. I guess it's only a matter of a week or two, and Russian armed forces that physically cut these two main supply and support lines that are remaining open, kind of, at least partially, for Pokrovsk-Mirnograd garrisons. And once these roads are cut, then that's it. Either Kiev regime's forces have to run away from the town, or they will be trapped, and then their fate gonna be sealed. Also, dear friends, Russian armed forces continue to increase their activity in the Zaporozhye direction, and I saw this short video, when Russian armed forces were pummeling basically positions of Kiev regime's forces in Chirvono area, and let me show you this video. By the way, Russian unit was using TOS flamethrower system for this attack, and quite impressive aftermath, by the way, of these strikes. Just look at this. Just look at this. Terrifying weapon, by the way. No wonder everybody is afraid of this Russian heavy flamethrower systems. Buratino or Solntsepyok or latest ones. Let's see it once again. I mean, it's terrifying, man. Every explosion, by the way, creates vacuum in an area, and due to difference in a pressure, basically nothing can survive in area of influence of this explosion, right? Terrifying system. I can see now Nidish Kumar is commenting Grad system. No, this is a TOS flamethrower system. This is TOS flamethrower system. Either Buratino, one of the modifications of Buratino, or the Solntsepyok. From video, I cannot tell exactly, but it's a definitely TOS flamethrower system. terrifying weapon, isn't it? Terrifying weapon, by the way. And after such strikes, usually what happened is that Russian forward units are entering the area and they're basically finalizing clearing operation. Because can you imagine you are there under this type of fire? You would be, if you survive strike itself, you would experience concussion at least, right? And before you will realize what the hell is going on, well, it will be too late. So yes, really terrifying weapon, by the way, this those
Так
flamethrower
горячо
systems.
со стороны
Let me continue now with some more news, and well, it is interesting. It is interesting that yesterday one of the journalists, by the way, somehow was allowed to highlight certain true information in a question, and that did surprise me. By the way, I didn't expect that anybody would be allowed to ask Trump a question which will be based on a truthful information, right? Let me give you a video itself, and you tell me what you will make of it. Let's listen to it.
Thank you, Mr. President. On Ukraine, President Zelensky just signed a law allowing for citizens age 60 and above to serve in the military. We've seen dozens of videos of young men being hauled into vans and dragged to the front lines against their will. And we've even seen videos of a young man with Down syndromes serving on the front line. You, when you campaigned, you said you wanted to see the people stop dying. A lot of people admired that statement. Now the people dying are elderly, mentally handicapped, and conscripts. So even if a ceasefire doesn't work out, why should Americans continue to fund a foreign military that's scraping the bottom of the barrel of its population like this?
Well, you have to understand, very importantly, this is Biden's war. This is not my war. I'm here to get us out of it. It's a mess, and I'm here to get us out. I haven't heard that when you say about 60-year-old men and, et cetera. But this is Biden's war, and we're working very hard to get us out. I stopped 5 wars in the last 5 months, actually, and I'd like this to be the 6th, frankly, and that doesn't even include Iran, with obliterating their nuclear haul, because they would have had nuclear weapons within 2 months. But stopped a lot of wars. You just take a look at the ones just over the last 2 or 3 months. It's been amazing. This is the one I'm trying to stop. This is the one we're working hardest on. The other ones I stopped within a matter of days, almost every one of them, including India and Pakistan, and I could go over the whole list, but you know the list as well as I do. But this is the one we'd like to see. I haven't not heard that, but this is Biden's war, and it's a war that he got us into, or indirectly got us into. It should have never happened. It would have never happened.
You see, dear friends, anytime Trump is asked some meaningful question, somehow he always says that he don't know. He never heard about it, or he will check on that. And what the hell, man? Is he briefed ever about real developments? How come that he don't know anything really when it comes to situation in Q-controlled territory? I don't know, dear friends. But what is important, that whole world, Western world, I mean, the rest of the world is quite well informed there, I will assume, but Western world did hear this question, by the way, which is quite a rare occasion, isn't it? And well, my applause to whomever that journalist was that actually asked this question and highlighted actual situation on Q-controlled territory. When now Zelensky's regime is sacrificing basically 60-plus-year-old elderlies, man, right? Senior citizens. And question was absolutely legit. Why on earth U.S. continues to support this regime, right? That acts like that. Why U.S. supports regime that kidnaps people from the streets and forcefully mobilizes even people that have some medical conditions. And Trump's answer, usually whenever whenever he receives some actual meaningful question, is he didn't knew about it. He will check on that and go back. Oh man, this is unbelievable. But well done to that journalist, by the way. I was really surprised. I didn't expect that anybody from Western media outlet would dare to actually ask meaningful question, U.S. president. But well, things happened. Things happened. I was truly impressed by this. Anyways, we have this report, dear friends, that Russian Foreign Ministry, due to speculations on internet, Russian Foreign Ministry was basically kind of forced to come up with the statement that recent speculations on internet about the deployment of Russian missile systems in Latin America is only opinion of a number of military experts and not an official position of Russian Defense Ministry or Russian leadership, right? And what is happening, dear friends, is that about a week ago, several experts here in Russia did begin speculating on the possibility that Russia would deploy Oreshnik missile systems, for example, as one of their examples, Oreshnik missile system into Latin American countries, which would increase tremendously Russia's first strike capabilities, let's say. And some people in the West, among Western elites, I guess, did pay attention to it. Western media outlets or propaganda outlets pay attention to it. There was some sort of noise around this topic, and Maria Zakharova, official representative of the Russian Foreign Ministry, was basically asked also about it. And let me give you her response. Reports of possible deployment of Russian weapons in Cuba and Venezuela represent the private opinion of individual experts. Issues of developing international military cooperation fail within the competence of the Russian Defense Ministry. This was the answer, by the way, of Maria Zakharova. She did not deny that Russia has no plans to deploy any sort of weapon systems in the Latin American countries, but she did not confirm either, because after all, this is actually not the competency of the foreign ministry. It's competency of the defense ministry, right? But when it comes to topic itself, I don't think Russia actually has plans to deploy Oreshnik or any other weapon systems, medium, let's say, range weapon systems, either in Cuba or in Venezuela or anywhere else when it comes to Latin America. Why would Russia do this? Yes, that will increase Russia's capability to strike on US if order comes, right? But Russia can strike any point in US anyways, like at any given point. Russia is a major nuclear superpower for a reason, right? And let's hope this will never happen, right? Let's hope this will never happen. But if somehow Western leadership or US leadership will provoke direct war with Russia and full-scale exchange of nuclear strikes, then Moscow is since forever basically is in a position to strike literally any point in US, from Alaska in the north to Florida in the south, any point. So why should Russia spend I don't know, hundreds of millions of dollars now to build the infrastructure bases in Latin American countries and then to transfer Oreshnik or whatever other weapon systems? I mean, it seems to me total waste of time and resources and money. I mean, why should we do that? But yet again, I'm not a military expert, so therefore, yet again, my opinion should be taken with a pinch of salt. But it does not seem logical to me. I mean, we can, if necessary, we can strike any point in US anyways, right? So, and we are talking about nuclear strikes, after which there is nothing left, right? So why should we waste our resources on some other systems? I don't know. I don't get it. But nevertheless, topic is being discussed in the public here in Russia, also in the West, in other parts of this world. And this is a statement of Maria Zakharova response. Also, dear friends, I reported yesterday about this, but I think this information worth attention, that US sold to the Netherlands a batch of weapons for Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky worth over $500 million. And well, question I have is that I'm not surprised at all. Obviously, I mean, Netherlands are led by extreme Russophobes. We all know that. As I said many times, by the way, European aristocracies, including royal families, are the leading force, I will say, behind the globalism movement, right? They've been led by British aristocracy and the royal family, but nevertheless, there are some other powerful groups also, maybe less powerful than British one, but still. And Netherlands royal family and do they have a? I believe they have a royal family, isn't it? And aristocracy. They are also part of this globalist movement, right? And the globalists, as we all know, are not stopping. They have no reverse gear, and until they will be forced to acknowledge objective reality, to face the objective reality, they would not. And therefore, they will continue to allocate whatever funds are necessary to prolong this conflict without asking anybody anything, right? Or especially their own populations. But first of all, dear friends, let me I just yes. I had to just make sure that I'm not messing up political system in the Netherlands. Yes, it's a monarchy, by the way. There, it's royal family still exists. Formally, these royal families are out of business, right? But in reality, they are very much engaged in basically everything, right? And they are driving force of globalist movement. And so, dear friends, let me continue. Therefore, I'm not surprised that they allocated 500 million. But question I have is do Netherlander citizens, do Dutch citizens actually know about this? I'm not sure. I think a majority of Dutch people have no freaking idea that over $500 million have been of taxpayers' money, by the way, have been allocated to prolong this proxy war against Russia. I'm not sure they would be against it, right, if they were informed about it, because I assume majority of the societies in the NATO member states are already have been brainwashed with the Russophobic propaganda, and they all hate us, right? Majority, I mean, but nevertheless, at least they should be informed, isn't it, what their governments are doing with their money. Anyways, US is also continues to allocate funds to prolong this proxy war. And for example, we have this report that US State Department has granted or greenlighted $104 million package to provide the Kyiv regime with equipment and the services for the repair of M777 howitzers, according to the Pentagon's Defense Security Cooperation Agency. So I don't know. Trump still brags about how Biden was spending so much money and he's different. Well, I mean, maybe $104 million is nothing for U.S. President Donald Trump. But for rest of the world, this is actually significant amount of money, right? And if you add this 104 million on another 300 plus million that was allocated just a couple of weeks ago by Trump himself to support this terrorist regime of Zelensky, then, well, we are talking about $500 million already. And I don't think US is in the position to say that, $500 million, I mean, really, it's a peanuts. No, US is in no position to ignore $500 million. After all, this is a country with a 36 or something trillion dollar debt, right? So I wonder if US citizens know that Trump's administration, like Biden's administration that previously, continues to pour in hundreds of millions of dollars to prolong this proxy war. I think majority of US citizens also have no freaking idea about it. They don't know, and I'm not sure they even care, really. Also interesting reports, dear friends, that, and I mentioned this in yesterday's second update, that US President Donald Trump's tariffs and immigration policies are allegedly pushing the economy in US towards the downturn. Moody's chief analyst Mark Zandi has warned. He described the US as on the precipice of the recession. The warning followed the Bureau of Labor Statistics report showing US added an average of just 35,000 jobs a month from May to July, less than a third of last year's pace and the weakest since 2020. Experts say the slowdown signals weakening economic growth. Other indicators have also been bleak. June consumer spending rose only 0.1%. If you keep in mind that they are speculating with numbers, then I guess this number is actually in minus. Prices climbed 2.7% year on year, terms their highest since the February, and the factory activity contracted for their fourth straight month as orders and jobs fail. So yes, I mean, it seems like even though Trump is bragging about U.S. economy is being on a best ever position, seems like this is not really the case, and U.S. economy is actually not doing that great, right? When Moody's is a Western institution, isn't it? It's not a Russian institution or not Chinese institution that someone in the West can say that, oh, this is Russians and this is Chinese and they are downgrading power of U.S. economy. No, this is Moody's, by the way, a Western institution, right? U.S., if I remember correctly, institution. So if they are saying a rating agency, right? So if they are saying that U.S. economy is on the brink of recession, then I guess the situation in reality is much worse than even they are acknowledging, right? And this is a kind of surprise to me. I didn't expect U.S. economy to be to do this bad, let's say this way, right? I was expecting that U.S. economy is doing at least a little better than European economies, that European leading economies that actually are in the recession, right? But seems like no, they all are, not in best shape. RT is also reporting that EU could be complicit in Israeli crimes, and who is saying this? Bloc's former foreign policy chief, Borrell, by the way, right? So the EU could be considered a complicit in Israeli war crimes in Gaza because it has failed to act in the face of the clear case of massive human rights violations. The bloc's former top diplomat, Joseph Borrell, has stated Brussels is reluctant to punish West Jerusalem for its transgressions, even though they surpass other crimes the bloc has condemned, he claimed. And you know what? Who would have thought that I would ever say that Joseph Borrell has a point? But I mean, he actually does. Maybe now he feels little free after he left position of top diplomat in EU, and he's making these statements. I don't know, but he is on point. Of course, European Union is complicit in all war crimes that Israel have committed and crimes against humanity, obviously. No doubts about that. And same can be said about every single country of the collective West. We might hear statements, strong statements with the condemnations of Israeli actions here and there from collective West countries, but this is all games for domestic purposes, for domestic use. When it comes to actual policies, neither countries, none of the countries, by the way, from collective West, stop cooperating with Israel when it comes to intelligence sharing, when it comes to weapons sales, and when it comes to anything else, right? So they all are complicit in these war crimes and crimes against humanity that Israel is committing. It's true. RT is also reporting that, Israeli fascists, by the way, attacked Russian diplomat. Yeah, Israeli fascists attacked Russian diplomat. This happened in the West Bank, and Russian Foreign Ministry reacted on this crime. So the Russian diplomatic vehicle was attacked last week by Israeli settlers. I will add by Israeli fascists, because they are fascists and they're criminals and should be punished for their crimes against humanity, right? So the Russian diplomatic vehicle was attacked last week by Israeli settlers in their occupied West Bank, resulting in a mechanical damage. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said on Tuesday. She added that Russia considers the incident a violation of the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. According to Zakharova, the incident occurred on July 13 near the illegal Israeli settlement of Gawat Asaf, located just east of Ramallah and about 20 kilometers north of Jerusalem. She said the settlers also shouted threats at the diplomats. The spokeswoman slammed the Israeli military's failure to intervene, denouncing their inaction particularly puzzling. The Israeli Defense Force soldiers did not even bother to try and stop their attackers' aggressive actions, she said. The vehicle was carried members of Russian diplomatic mission to their Palestinian Authority, who are also accredited with Israel's foreign ministry, according to Moscow. And I don't know why Maria Zakharova is puzzled that IDF members did not stop these settlers, because, they all are fascists, by the way. They all are freaking fascists, right? Majority of Israelis are fascists, and they are actively supporting fascist regime of Netanyahu, fascistic regime of Netanyahu, in their genocide that Israel, this fascist Israel, is committing, right? So I have no freaking idea how come that Maria Zakharova was stunned that, whoa, these IDF soldiers, did not intervene. They were standing right there, by the way, and observing this situation. And somehow Maria Zakharova is stunned that, this IDF soldiers did not intervene. Why would they, man? They all are freaking fascists, right? And they don't consider anybody except themselves to be humans, right? They don't consider you, Maria Zakharova, to be a human. They don't consider me to be a human. They don't consider Palestinians to be a human. They don't consider nobody to be a human except them. That's why I'm saying only way forward when it comes to this fascist Israel state is to demilitarize this entity and then to denazify its freaking fascistic population. Majority of it. Not all of them obviously are fascists, but majority is, in my personal opinion. And that's why I'm saying, by the way, these talks and statements and this and that are not working. Get together. Leadership of Russia, leadership of China, India, South Africa, Brazil, other countries, by the way, from Middle East included, obviously, should get together, come up with a plan to issue a freaking 24-hour warning to this fascist entity, right? To agree on demilitarization and denazification and everything that has to be done on top of that, or face the consequences. And if they refuse, then, military action has to be taken by world community. And Israel, this fascist entity Israel, modern Israel, is a fascist state, by the way. There can be no doubts about it, right? So this fascist entity has to be demilitarized, and the majority fascist Israeli society has to be denazified. Period. That's it. That's it, man. You don't have to be a freaking genius to understand what is need to be done. So just do it. Well, RT is also reporting that in Moldova, by the way, in Moldova, leader of opposition was jailed in the best traditions of modern Western world, right? And in accordance to European values, as Ursula Bursula loves to talk about, and another crazy Russophobe Kaya Kallas, that is head of EU diplomacy now. So the court in EU candidate Moldova has sentenced the leader of the autonomous region of Gagauzia and also leader of opposition, by the way, there, to 7 years in prison on the charges of illegally financing their Eurosceptic political party. I mean, this is classic, isn't it? Yet accusing her for illegal funding of a Eurosceptic political party, man. I mean, you cannot make this story up, man. This is just insane, right? And these sickening elements that are operating under the globalists, and obviously Maya Sandu's regime in Moldova is a puppet regime of the globalists. Well, they are not even shying away, by the way. They are not even trying, to hide their motives and hide how politically motivated their criminal activity is, right? When they are attacking Russian speakers, when they are attacking Gagos people, right, that are Turkic-speaking Orthodox Christians. I mean, only Turkic-speaking ethnicity that is Orthodox Christian, and so, yeah. I mean, in best traditions of Europe, this terrorist regime of Maya Sandu, this criminal regime, is arresting Eugenia Gutsul. And you know what? I had said many times before that Moldova is finished, isn't it? Moldova, as a quasi-state that it is, will not last more than 5 to 10 years, by the way, on the political map. Mark my word. These kind of actions will only accelerate inevitable process of full-scale disintegration of this creation of the Bolsheviks. And I remind you, dear friends, that it was the Bolsheviks that created the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic, that never existed. I mean, Ukraine never existed, by the way, ever, right, on the political map as either monarchy or republic or anything. And the Bolsheviks created also Moldova, that also never existed, by the way. It's pure creation of Bolsheviks, right? Artificial creation. And well, this quasi-state will definitely undergo full-scale disintegration, as it should, because there are approximately, by the way, 40 to 50% of residents of Moldova that see themselves as Romanians. They want to join Romania. They want to be part of Romanian society. They want to be part of NATO and EU and everything of that sort, right? And I think they have every right to feel whatever way they want to feel, right? If they want to be part of Romania, okay, just do it. Enter Romania. And there is another about 50% population, by the way, in Moldova, including Gagauz people, that don't want to be part of Romania, don't want to be part of EU or NATO, don't want to cut ties with Russia, with the Russian Federation, right? Or the Russian people. And they have every right also to actually take their future in their hands, take their fate in their hands, right? And do whatever is necessary. Move closer to Russia or go full independent. Do what you have to do. But in any case, by the way, both these groups have, in my opinion, legit rights to have a position that they have. So therefore, I think disintegration of Moldova is absolutely inevitable. Only question I have: will this disintegration will happen with military hostilities, or disintegration will take place based on political decision-making process? I'm afraid there will be military hostilities, by the way. There will be military hostilities, and I will recommend all the Russian speakers, all the people of Gagauzia, and everybody in Transnistria also, breakaway unrecognized republic that used to be part of Moldova, I would recommend all of them to get ready, because clearly NATO is preparing military operation. They don't want to give up any territory, right, of Moldova. And if Gagos people want to be, protected and safe, they should prepare. They should prepare, because NATO is coming after them. If Russian speakers want to be safe and secure, they should get ready, by the way, because NATO is coming after them. And they're, they can look at Ukraine, by the way, to realize what will be their future, right? Russian speakers gonna be there. They're already being or ethnic minorities. They're gonna be, smashed, right? Their rights gonna be ignored completely, as it was and is a case on Kiev controlled territory. So yes, Moldova is finished, by the way, and I think this decision to arrest Evgenia Gutsul, opposition leader and leader of Gagauz autonomous region, will only accelerate this process of full-scale disintegration of Moldova. TASS news agency is also reporting that, Azerbaijani and Armenian leaders might actually meet in Washington this Friday, allegedly. So US President Donald Trump will meet with the Azerbaijani leader Ilham Aliyev and Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan on Friday, Washington Post reported, citing sources in the White House. According to their information, following their negotiations, the Azerbaijan and Armenian leaders may announce the conclusion of a peace agreement. Let's see, by the way, let's see. If these two countries will actually manage to reach a peace agreement with assistance of Washington or whomever, then that would be great news. But I'm skeptical of that. Because Azerbaijan is demanding Zangezur corridor, right? And recently there was speculations that US might actually take over the Zangezur corridor, but Armenia disagree on that. And then also there is Iran, right? Iran considers such a proposition as a danger for a republic, right? Understandably so. And therefore, I don't know, man. I don't know. And the Zangezur corridor, by the way, is a land corridor that connects Nakhichevan Autonomous Republic from mainland Azerbaijan in the southern Caucasus region. I have shown that area on the map many times previously, isn't it? And Nakhichevan right now has no land bridge with Armenia, with Azerbaijan, only through Armenia, right? And Azerbaijan has also additional demands, by the way. It's not just Zangezur corridor, but Azerbaijan is demanding control over several dozen of villages, right? And I don't know, maybe Pashinyan will agree on that too. We will see. We will find out. But in my personal opinion, Aliyev is finished. Ilham Aliyev, president of Azerbaijan, made a fatal mistake just relatively recently. I mean, on several occasions, he was making big mistakes. And a few weeks ago, when Ilham Aliyev authorized political escalation with Moscow, that was a red line after which there is no return. And I think Azerbaijani leaders sign up for suicide by doing so, right? And not because Moscow gonna do anything, man. No, Moscow literally will not do nothing, right? There are some other actors. France, for example, that will actually do. And there are many others, not just France, but there is Iran next door. There are some other stuff. Moscow will do nothing, literally just observe how Aliyev's empire is going to be crushed. Only matter of time. And I will end, dear friends, this I will end this news segment on this report that French debt is ballooning by 5,000 euros each second. Each second, by the way, like each second, France's debt is increasing by 5,000 euros, which is a quite impressive achievement, let's say. Unbelievable, man. So, French Prime Minister Francois Bureau or whatever is urging their public to back his drastic public spending cuts, warning that the country's debt is growing by 5,000 euros every second. Their 43.8 billion or euro or 50.9 billion dollar deficit cutting program unveiled last month targets a budget gap that hit 5.8% of GDP last year, nearly double the EU's 3% limit. Barrow has sounded the alarm, stressing that their debt load is in mortal danger, while insisting true measures are now um, unavoidable. Tough measures now are unavoidable. Okay, okay, do this, Prime Minister of France. But it is quite impressive, isn't it? I knew French economy was in trouble, but I mean, 5,000 euros every second debt. I mean, that's quite achievement. What can I say? Well done, France. Well done. Так держать, блин. Okay, dear friends, this is it for a new segment of today, and well, for next 10-15 minutes, I will join community chatter and will react on questions or their comments that will be addressed towards me or directed to me. I guess there was no super chatter or the donations during the live stream. Otherwise, Annie would tell me. So, which is unfortunate, by the way. If I don't have donation during the live stream, usually that day I don't have donation. Okay. Another day to work for nothing. Oh, shit happens. Anyways, let me get engaged in the chatter. Danny Deval is commenting. Levon, remember this line? Brutus at 2. He must play their neocon game for the next 12 months. At that time, they will be hanging people in their states. Well, I don't know what he have to do, but Trump is many members of our community that actually voted for him. Our many members of our community from US that actually voted for him are tremendously disappointed. They are expressing their opinions in the comments, right? And I mean, we all monitor media, isn't it? Alternative media, first of all, from US, and I mean, very many people are disappointed. By the way, very many people, right? He is compromised. I think Trump is compromised, and the longer he stays in office, higher the damage is going to be for America First movement, for American citizens, and for US as a state, because you cannot have a compromised leader on the position of president and expect any success whatsoever, right? It is what it is. He portrayed everybody, I guess, you know. Nidish Kumar is commenting, Luana, once 30% tariffs is reached, he can hike as much as he wants. Does not make any difference. We can't hit their biggest sector, service sector, FB, Facebook, Insta, WhatsApp, and YouTube. I mean, I agree with you. At certain level of tariffs, I guess further increases don't really makes no sense because you are basically cutting the ties at that point, right? And unfortunately, seems like there are no clever people around the Trump who can advise him actually, or I don't know what is going on. I really don't, you know. And I'm not even gonna try or pretend that I have a good understanding of what Trump's strategies is. Probably he himself has no freaking idea what he's doing, and nobody in his administration actually does. Has a good understanding of these policies that they are engaged in, being tariff wars, trade wars, or any topic. Take any topic about them. It's total mess, right? I have not seen Washington being in this mess during the previous administration. That was disastrous for US for sure, right? But I mean, this one is something extraordinary, man. No wonder so many people are disappointed in US, man. I mean, people are shocked actually. They voted for what, and they get what. I mean, it's like two different worlds, man. But Nidish, let's see what he's gonna say this evening. Allegedly, his statement gonna be at 11 p.m. Moscow time for orientation. I saw reports that he will make statement approximately at 11 p.m. Moscow time. So members of our community can, take this time as a orientation if they want to watch a live that statement. If it's gonna be alive, probably will be. But I guess he will attack India, he will attack Russia, maybe China, although I'm not sure about it. But Russia and India, yes, we're gonna be attacked for sure. Donzugar is commenting, Levan, why you can't have a super chat on YouTube? I am unable to make contributions to your other platforms with no cell phone. Don, my channel is not monetized on YouTube. No Russian channels are monetized on YouTube. Actually, channels that are not hiding their origins. I'm not hiding origin of this channel. I am in Russia, and therefore my channel is from Russia, right? And here Russian channels are not monetized. And then on top of that, my channel not gonna be monetized on YouTube anyways, because I have a content that YouTube will, if my channel was monetized, every video would be demonetized then. So therefore, it makes no sense for me, my channel to be monetized on YouTube due to their policies, right? So that's the reason. I just, Rumble is different. My channel is monetized there on Rumble, but not on YouTube. And Nidish is also commenting, Levan, Trump is like a student in a class who gives the same answer for every question because he studied only one answer. I mean, yes, good comparison. Good comparison. I mean, he's a showman, right? He's a showman, and that's all, right? And he was picked by whatever forces were, manipulating with him. He was picked because of his showman qualities, his qualities to work with the audience, right? And he was good at it. Not anymore, I will say, but there was times when he was good at it. That's how he managed to gain popularity among US citizens, isn't it? Why people began supporting him? Because he knows how to work with the audience, right? He worked in a show business for how long? So, you know, she was picked for this, and now, you know, he's doing whatever he is told to do, right, by his masters, whoever these masters are, Israeli secret services or globalists or neocons or whomever, you know. She cannot give you decent answer on any difficult topic. I mean, for every day, by the way, dear friends, we are exchanging opinions on many topics, isn't it? From all over the world, and I'm quite sure. I'm quite sure Donald Trump would not be able to maintain conversation with us on an adequate level. By the way, we are none of us are claiming that we are experts, right, in this or that, but we have certain knowledge, right, and we are operating based on our knowledge and experience. But I think Trump don't even has some basic knowledge about majority of the important topics that the world is facing right now to be able to sustain conversation. That's how bad he is, really. That's how bad prepared he is for a position of president. I think, you know, during the election campaign, I was thinking that he will have a good advisors and he would listen to them, right? Good advisors, but it didn't turn out that way. When he began picking people for his cabinet, it has become clear straight away that, well, neocons were ruling, right? And later on, it has become even more clear that Trump is under influence of not just neocons, but also under tremendous influence of Israeli lobby or Israeli secret services, or, you know. So he is compromised, by the way. He is compromised and presents danger for US citizens and for rest of the world. Danny Derval is commenting, Luan, we had a referendum about Ukraine. The people said no, they ignored us totally. If you mean, I don't know, Danny, you are US citizen or not. If you mean US, and if you mean that election was a sort of referendum on Ukraine, because the majority of Trump supporters were against this forever wars, right? So I can see this point that this was not just elections, but also kind of referendum to end these freaking wars, right? And pull out US from it. And yes, I can see this point that you are making, that people's opinion was ignored. Yes, 100%. You know, which is unfortunate, but ballot box is broken, by the way, in US for sure. No matter for whom you vote, you're gonna get same policies anyways, right? Rhetoric might be different, but policy is gonna stay the same. And that is an indicator to me that ballot box is broken. There is no elections. There is no actual elections in the US, only imitation of their elections, right? If that is a democracy that Western world is bragging about, then you know what? Thanks. No, we don't need that, right? We don't need these fake elections and that kind of stuff. Here in Russia, by the way, yes, Putin is a leading country for like 2 decades now, more. At least we know that he is a popular, by the way. At least we know for sure that he is actually popular, and some 70% of people are constantly supporting him. So therefore, I mean, you might like it or not, but I mean, he is a popular president. He's a popular political figure, not just in Russia, but worldwide, right? He's one of the very few heavyweights, actually, that still remains in geopolitical scale. So Here, by the way, at least we know that, yes, sir, he is now on his like fourth term or third or whatever, but he is a popular. And me personally, to be honest, I don't really want presidents to have only 2 terms, by the way. I don't think that's a good thing. If president is good, if president, his cabinet is doing good job, then let them compete every 5 years. Or 5 years is too short, by the way. Let them complete every 7 years, I will say, right? Every 7 years, make elections, right? And as long as people support this individual, well, let him be president or prime minister or whatever, right? Because that's what democracy is, by the way. People want this guy to be president, so okay. In US is different, by the way. You are actually want difference, you want changes, right? But all you get is different faces, while policies are stay the same, right? We here have one president for quite a long time. There was a pause, isn't it? Medvedev was president for 1 term, right? But we actually have policies that effect of which we can see, we can observe, right? We can see that country is moving forward. Do you have such a situation in the US or in any Western country, by the way? I don't think so, really. And then still, by the way, it's Western so-called elites that are criticizing us and calling political system here either dictatorship or their autocracy or whatever. Who gives a damn, man? As long as these guys are doing their job, country is moving forward, I have no freaking issue, man. Let them fucking be there in our offices forever. As long as they are doing good job, okay, man, right? As long as they are working for people, it's all good, man. But and they will stop doing good job. People gonna vote for others, right? But in the West, by the way, you don't have that kind of luxury, because no matter for who you vote, by the way, literally no matter for who you vote, winners gonna be the same groups, right? Same groups that give no damn about society or society's demands. That's how it is. Cassandra, of course, is commenting. Hi, Luan. Suggestion: I'm going to suggest you do your live later in the day, if possible. YouTube is an American site. Americans are 7 and 8 hours behind you. Nobody from US is awake now. Thank you very much, Cassandra, for your suggestion. I'm thinking about this topic. Other members of our community also did give me such recommendations to work with the timing, and I think once we will go back to Moscow, I will make some changes in the programming, and maybe I would not change timing for morning update, but I will add additional live stream, daily live stream. So I will have 2 live streams in the morning and late evening. So therefore, members of our community from all over the world will probably find it more convenient to watch either first one, either second one, one of those live streams, right? So I'm thinking about it. Thank you very much for your recommendation, and I'm gonna work out this issue for sure. And also, I think from September to begin inviting guests also. So let's see how it will work out. Thank you. Dear friends, sorry if I miss your question or the comment. Every time, dear friends, I see some members of our community are kind of upset that I did not highlighted the question or the comment. My apologies for that, dear friends. I'm scrolling fast, and when I spot some capital letters, I'm just paying attention to it, because I'm considering those questions to be directed at me. Like when Nidish is commenting, he is using capital letters, and it's just easier to spot, right? Levan, if they give Zangezur corridor, Armenia will cease to exist. What's your take? Well, I'm afraid they're gonna give Zangezur corridor to Azerbaijan. Format can be discussed. Maybe U.S. companies will be in charge of this corridor, let's say, together with the U.S. private military companies, right, to operate there. Maybe that's gonna be that's how they're gonna deal with the situation. This will be huge blow for Armenia in many ways, right? In many ways, but on other hand, Armenia, maybe it's difficult situation there, because interests of quite a number of powerful groups are crossing in the Southern Caucasus region, right? And eventually, I think Azerbaijan will lose. Eventually, Azerbaijan will lose, but in the short term, it's going to be Armenia and maybe even Georgia that will suffer due to current developments in the Southern Caucasus region. Eventually, I think Azerbaijan will lose in this regional games that Baku is playing, together with London, together with Ankara, together with Israel, right? So I don't think Armenia is going to disappear, but ambitions of Armenia will be cut significantly. That's for sure. One should keep in mind, dear friends, that formally Armenia is still member of the CSTO. This is a military bloc built by number of former Soviet republics, and at least formally Armenia did not left. So that means that no one can attack Armenia. And also there is a bilateral agreement between Armenia and Russia that if Armenia is attacked, then Russia will protect it. If Armenia is attacked directly, right? If any country is waging war against the republic. So this is also something that Baku and Ankara will keep in mind. They have to, right? Because I don't think either of these states, either Azerbaijan or Turkey, wants to get involved in the war with Russia. I mean, when Armenia will leave CSTO, and if relationships between Russia and Armenia will deteriorate further, then yes, Armenian statehood might end up being in question, but not now, because there is too many. There is maybe not too many. That there is quite a few frameworks in place for guaranteeing Armenia's security. Alan Richard is commenting, is there any more news on the British military and MI6 operatives captured in Ukraine? No, Alan. I did not, only speculations. I was asked about this on Patreon, also during the previous updates. There was reports. I mean, I will say for members of our community that may not be familiar with this story. Recently, there was reports that Russian special forces conducted the operation and captured their officers, British officers, and their military specialists. But this is all rumors, by the way. This is all rumors that are circulating on internet. I did not see official confirmations of that from Russian Defense Ministry, and because in these speculations, talk is about MI6 and SAS, British militaries and their officers, because secret services are involved there. Maybe London and Moscow will conduct, if all this story is true, by the way, maybe Moscow and London will conduct some behind-door negotiations, and these people, these captured individuals, potentially will be exchanged for, let's say, Russian citizens that might be captured in UK or in US or in European states. So London will have to make sure that they will organize release of Russian citizens from the West in exchange of Russia releasing these British intelligence officers and their special forces members. But yet again, if all this story is true, by the way, because yet again, without official confirmations, we just cannot know, right? So that's all I can tell at this point. If such operation actually took place, maybe we will learn about it. Maybe this story will be classified for decades, and maybe we will learn about it, I don't know, after 30 years or something. Who knows? Arcane Eclectic is commenting, why am I struggling with nickname of yours, Arcane? Arcane Eclectic is asking, Levon, does the Russian government give grants or subsidies to content creators such as yourself who are getting the Russian perspective out there to the Western world? No. Answer is no. Maybe there are some programs or funds or something. I just have no knowledge about it, but I can tell about myself, by the way. I would love to have at least a sponsor or advertising contract, right? Every single day, for example, I'm using as a sources quite a number of Russian media outlets, right? And if they have had any care about Russian perspective being heard or seen outside of Russia in, let's say, English-speaking world, in my particular case, because I have English language programs, then how come that none of these media outlets even think about, you know what, these guys are indirectly is doing our advertise anyways, right? Literally on daily basis, because he uses our media as a source of information. So let's give him an advertising contract. It's easy stuff, isn't it? And they don't have to give me like $10,000 a month, by the way. $500 a month will be great support, isn't it, for this project? But they don't care, man. No one cares, right? In the West, by the way, there is too much talk about Russian influence and Russian this and Russian that. Based on my experience since I began working in this field, by the way, I can tell you that seems to me that either Russian leadership or the state-financed media have any care about this so-called soft power. They just simply don't care, by the way. Otherwise, if anything, at least some programs should be in place, as you mentioned, by the way. At least some programs should be in place to support independent creators, right? But they don't care, man. And I cannot demand assistance from them, isn't it? Because this is my personal decision to be engaged in this field, to work on this project. It's all on me, right? So there is no way I can demand anything. But on the other hand, it would be nice if if there was a system in place, right? When people, businesses, for example, or the media or others are realizing that it is important to promote Russian point of view, pro-Russian point of view, right? Outside of Russia, in different languages, by the way, not just in English, but in any other, right? It is important, isn't it? It is important. If there was such a understanding here in Russia, then I guess I wouldn't struggle this much. Probably some businesses would say, you know what, let's give a sponsorship to this project. You know, maybe he will advertise our business, whatever that business is. I don't know. But there is no such a thing, by the way. That's all I know, right? Which is sad, really sad. This should not be this way. But they just simply don't give a damn, man. That's my understanding. That neither Russian leadership, neither Russian media, neither Russian businesses give a flying F about promoting Russian perspective outside of Russia. Yes, there is a RT and that kind of stuff, right? And RT is getting big support from the state. It's a state financed media, isn't it? At least partially state financed. But RT is a big media project, right? And because it's a state fund, many people gonna have a skeptical view, right, about any news that comes from RT. It would be much more effective if there was certain institutions in place to support independent creators, right? Because you can say straight away, is this a truly independent creator or not, right? So independent creators can reach audience that RT most likely cannot, right? But they just don't give a damn, man. That's my understanding. Because how come that not a single business, by the way, I have received their advertising. Ань, предложение как будет по-английски? Suggestions, yes. I had their advertising suggestions to cooperate, basically, from number of companies from the West, by the way, right? And I refuse always. Because if I do advertise of any company, I have to be sure, 100% sure that quality is there, right? So my hope was that maybe some business here in Russia that is engaged in the tourism industry, for example, or something with their contact at one point and offer some advertising contract or something. Because after all, everybody from our community, I mean, 99% of viewers, members, by the way, are from outside of Russia, right? That's what YouTube statistics is showing me. So practically everybody from our community is a potential tourist, right? And if they visit Moscow or any other city, by the way, additional information about good hotel or good restaurant or whatever would be helpful, handy. Why not, right? So I had that hope that maybe some business from tourist industry will contact me and offer some advertising. I was also hoping that maybe some of the media outlets, big media outlets, would contact me and offer advertising so that I would use their news more often, for example, or I would use them as a source more often, because I use media as a source in everyday's updates, right? But it did not happen, man. It just did not happen. So you tell me what you are making of it. Is this normal situation? I don't think so. But at the same time, obviously, I cannot demand nothing because this is my project. This is my responsibility, right? And that's how it is. I cannot demand, but it would be nice if there was a misunderstanding here in Russia that we need to support independent creators, right? That are showing rest of the world that we are not these freaking monsters that Western elites are trying to paint us. That we are normal people, by the way, and we are living normal lives, and we might have different opinions on different things, but still we can get together quite well. And I think this needs to be supported, but who is asking? No one asks my opinion, man. Right? Also, there is an additional question from Arcane Eclectic. Or have you tried applied for jobs or freelance for with RT News? Yes, I did, by the way. Yes, I have the send application to RT at least on few occasions, but they ignored me. They did not even write me back anything, which is also unfortunate, by the way. They could at least write back that, you know what, we have no vacancies, or we have a vacancy, but we cannot take you. I mean, at least they could write something, but they ignored me completely. RT guys. I'm not even sure if they read my application, by the way. You know, they are in a different world, by the way. These are giants like RT and others. They are in different world. We are in a real world, and they are in somewhere else. Let me say, and I was applying for RT, by the way. It was quite some time ago now, isn't it? Because I wanted, my thinking was that there must be many English speakers, right, in RT, so that I would have opportunity to talk in English more and improve my language more, right? That was a primary goal of mine when I was applying, right? And it didn't work out anyway, so So, dear friends, Franz Neubauer is commenting, my grounded told me that Russians were not bad at all in World War II. Well, he was correct, because we actually defeated Nazi Germany, right? Not me personally, obviously, but my grandfather's generation, my grandfather, by the way, defeated Nazi Germany and saved all of us from fascist Nazi ideology, and we should always be grateful for that. Oh, Danny Derval is commenting, I am Dutch, and goodness me, man. Danny Derval, it even sounds Dutch. Am I correct? I should understand this straight away. Sorry, Danny, that I was thinking you are from US. My apologies. I'm gonna remember now. And dear friends, if I may, I will end this stream now. One more question. David King is commenting. I heard Russia has info on Trump, Epstein, Vids, etc. Will Russia release this to media? I don't think so. If Russia has some information that compromises Trump, I don't think Russia will release that information in media. Maybe Russian side will transfer this information as a gesture of the goodwill to certain groups in US in security services, right? If they will be understanding that these groups can actually go ahead and do something about it, if they are not compromised too. Maybe Russia will transfer information, if necessary, by the way, to certain groups in US so that they will take care of the situation. with all the based on the U.S. Constitution and the law, by the way, right? But I don't think Russia gonna release in the media, by the way. Oh, there was a super chat. There was a super chat, by the way. Let me react on that. Let me highlight a super chat, dear friends. So, and I will end on that, if I may. Okay. So Blorp, thank you very much for your super chat, for your $5 donation on Rumble. Comment from Blorp is that quality content is always the most difficult to finance. Well, thank you very much for your kind words, sir. I'm trying to provide some interesting, informative content, dear friends, and hopefully I'm succeeding in that. There is always way to improve. I know that perfectly well, and I'm trying. But meanwhile, my hope is that my videos are informative and interesting. Thank you for your donation, Blorp, for your super chat and the kind words. I appreciate. Thank you. And dear friends, if I may, I will end this live stream now. And if you come across, probably I will make 1 or 2 short clips from this live stream. And if you come across of those videos, and if you have a time, and if you can do it, please like those videos also, and please like this live stream itself if you liked it, if you think this live stream was an interesting one, and leave some commentary in the comment section. This is it for now, dear friends. Thank you all for your attention. Many thanks to everybody who supported and continues to support. Have a wonderful day, and take care. Bye for now.